Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how to hit the forehand slice, and there's a whole family of shots that have very similar technical characteristics, so it's a good thing to learn how to hit a forehand slice because it might help some of the other shots. And these shots are the forehand volley, the forehand drop shot, the forehand chip return, and forehand squash shot. So if you learn how to hit a forehand slice, you will also improve your chance of learning these other shots as well. And let's start off with the grip. It's going to be a continental grip, and you want to set up your forehand slice with a high starting point. The tip of the racket needs to be above the shoulder, and now you're going to start coming down towards the ball. This is what's going to create the underspins. If I go from a high position to a low position, the ball will spin in this way, and this creates underspin. And the backhand slice is a much more intuitive shot compared to the forehand slice, and this is why you don't really see the forehand slice very much on the tour. Yes, there's some players like Monica Niculescu who slices her forehand, or Fabrice Santoro used to have a two-handed slice forehand, but you don't really see this shot on the Pro Tour, and the reason is it's not really an intuitive shot, and this has to do with the biomechanics. So on the backhand, if I'm hitting high to low and then across the body, you can see that there's nothing in the way. The racket can freely move across the body. I have all this free space in front. Now on the forehand slice, if I go down on the ball and then have the racket go across, you see that my body is in the way, and this is why this is not an intuitive shot. So this brings up the question how much we should turn when we set up the forehand slice. So you definitely don't want to be too sideways, because now you're completely blocking the swing path, and you don't want to just go straight down on the slice. This will interrupt the stroke, and this will turn it into more of a chopping motion. You won't be able to accelerate as much. So in order for the racket to freely move across the body like this, we need to start off the forehand slice a little bit more open. So you don't want to turn too much. You want to face the ball more as you're setting up your slice. And when you do that, you can see that the racket will naturally move more across the body. The movement's going to be high to low. And now as we continue going down on the ball, you can see that the racket will move across the body and then up. So just like the backhand slice, it's a U shape. I'm starting high, I'm going down on the ball, and then I'm finishing high. This is the forehand slice swing path. Another factor that makes the forehand slice a less intuitive shot than the backhand is the position of the wrist. So on the backhand slice, the wrist is in a neutral position as we're executing the shot. You can see on the forehand slice, I have to bend my wrist backwards. So the wrist needs to be in an L shape in order for us to execute this shot properly. So it's really important that when you hit your forehand slice, that you don't use your wrist. If you make a wrist movement before, at, or after contact, this will take all the slice out of the ball. So if you come at the ball like this, and now you're snapping your wrist, you will not get a lot of slice on the ball, and you might end up with some kind of side spin or something else that's unintentional, and you will lose control quickly. So it's crucial that you keep your wrist in this L shape throughout the entirety of the forehand slice in order for you to control the ball properly. The contact is going to be very similar to the backhand slice. If you're interested in learning how to hit the backhand slice, I have several videos on the backhand slice, and one in particular deals with the contact point on the backhand slice that's interestingly further behind the body. And on the forehand slice, it's going to be very similar. So first we have to determine when would we hit a slice. So it's not going to be on a ball that's coming very deep into the court, or it's not going to be on a ball that's coming very fast. The forehand slice would be a dangerous shot to hit, because if we have a slightly open racket face, we might miss the ball long. So when are we going to hit a slice? It's going to be on low balls that are in front of us. So usually on balls that have very little penetration, we are going to step towards the incoming ball. So in this case, the contact is going to be around the tip of the front foot. This is where you want to make contact on your forehand slice. And just like the backhand, you don't want to make contact too far in front, because what will happen is that this will open the racket face. And when you slice with an extremely open racket face like this will send the ball too high, and your opponent's going to have an easy chance to put you under pressure. So you want to close the racket face a little bit, and naturally, the further back we go, the more the racket face will close. Well, unfortunately, as I described on the forehand slice, we're going to use this shot when we get pulled into the court on low balls. This is the best time to utilize this shot. And naturally, because we're going to be stepping in towards that ball, the racket face will be slightly more open. And a shot that you do see a lot at the high level is the squash shot, which is basically a forehand slice that's hit in distress. And there's a couple of ways it's executed. So one way is to be completely stretched out and the player is barely getting to the ball and they're basically slicing the ball back in play. Or in an even more difficult situation, the player will actually have the ball be behind a little bit, and now the player has to reach back like this and hit a slice from this position. And because these shots are executed under such distress, there might actually be some wrist movement. So when you completely extend the arm out, it's very difficult to bring the arm back in, and you might have to use your wrist a little bit to bring the racket back towards you in order to generate this slice. Even more so when the ball gets behind you, you might have to bend the wrist a little bit in this position in order to generate the proper angle of the racket face, and then you have to continue going down on the ball like this. But generally speaking, the squash shot has the same fundamentals as the forehand slice. Basically, you're going to go high to low. This is the key to the squash shot. You go high to low, and now your intention with this shot is to basically get the ball back in play. Hopefully, it can stay low, and you might have a chance to neutralize the points. So while the forehand slice can be a good addition to your game, I see a lot of players who are overusing it, especially at the recreational level, and that's why I call this shot the lazy shot. So players will sometimes, instead of bending down and hitting a forehand, they will bend with their back like this and then end up hitting a forehand slice, because that's really the only option they have. So my advice to you is to always have the intention to hit your forehand, because you're giving up the opportunity to hit your forehand the regular way, which is a much better shot than a forehand slice. Let me just give you one example. I was looking at the data of average forehand speeds on the WTA Tour, and on the very bottom of the list, the forehand that was going over the net at an average of 50 miles an hour was Monica Niculescu. She had the slowest forehand by far. So when you're slicing your forehand, you got to understand that you're basically depending on your opponent to make the mistake. This is not aggressive tennis. So here's what you should do instead. You're always going to have the intention to hit your forehand, and you're going to let your slice come out intuitively. So you will know when it's time to hit like a squash shot or a forehand slice as the only option. If you do it the other way and plan to hit the slice ahead of time, often you will do it unnecessarily so, and you're giving up an opportunity to hit an aggressive forehand, maybe even for a winner. I can tell you that when I hit the squash shot, I don't plan it ahead of time. It's a last ditch effort to get the ball back in play, and this is how you should treat your forehand slice. Don't make it a habit. Make sure that you learn how to do it, that you possess it, that it's part of your repertoire, but only use it in true emergency situations.